Welcome to Kind of Adulting. My name is Simone, and I'm joined by my two friends, Jordan and Elise. We've known each other since middle school, high school-ish, and we're taking on our early 20s together. In this podcast, we hope to share our daily challenges, funny stories, and overall experiences living in big cities and taking on post-grad life. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Kinda Adulting.
What?
We on episode 13, man. Like, this season is flying by.
Yeah, it's almost over with.
I know, it's wild. It's wild. You guys have to let us know what topics you guys want to see for the last couple episodes so we can make sure to get them in for this season.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, did you guys watch the Kamala and Pence debate?
I did.
I thought we were going to have a check-in. I'll talk about my life. So
I was trying to
we'll start that. I have a couple problems going on.
Okay.
So,
okay.
1, 2, 3.
Did you forget the
No,
problem?
I got a text. So I had to, and then your beeping messed me up. Okay. Look, we're in Star Wars or something.
Yo, we trying to make it work. I'm in the middle of Brooklyn. I ain't in my house. I'm trying, y'all. Go ahead, Elise.
So originally, you guys both know that I was really trying to move into the city soon.
Mm-hmm.
But then my roommate, which is on her right, decided that she doesn't want to move into DC anymore. And for context, listeners, I live in Arlington, I'm really close to DC, like 10-minute drive. But to my vision board, I really, 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 really want to move to DC. I've been talking about it for forever, been researching. We had a Google Excel sheet. We were putting options in, and I just got back in town from Georgia today this afternoon, and she was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And like I'm like stressed. Like I'm a planner, right? So I'm like, because my whole goal was to try to move before Thanksgiving, before I would go out so now I'm like, I don't know what to do. She doesn't want to move to DC. I really don't want to stay in Arlington anymore. And it's just like it's weighing on my soul. I found out today, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So we're gonna kind of pray about it this week, figure out what I want to do, because rent is a lot of money, moving is a lot of money, and then she's a great roommate, so I don't really want to leave her. I also don't want to really live alone yet. I'm not there yet in my life, live alone. I like being around. If you hear from the episodes, I like being around people, so that's a stressor for me. I'm a warrior, so I only have a short couple weeks to get this together because I'm planning to stay from Thanksgiving till Christmas, and I really did not want to move. I really wanted to kind of have my living situation handled before 2021.
She really could have told you before you started this whole process.
People change their minds. You can't really be like, but you guys know, like, it's something that's like it's really heavy to me, and I really feel like me being in this place is like, it's a great apartment, don't get me wrong, but I really do feel like I need a change in my life. I feel like I need a lot of changes in my life to just move myself forward, and I think my environment is something that is will be a big change for me to have, and I was really looking forward to kind of making a big leap. I feel it will reflect a lot of areas in my life because I feel really stagnant. And so, yeah.
So she doesn't want to move at all, or she doesn't want to move into the city?
Doesn't want to move into DC.
Oh.
Is there any way you could get closer, or like you find your own place? Or
well, yes, yeah. So that's kind of what the option is right now. Like kind of today talking about it, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And that's the thing, though. That's how life is. No, it's not how life is. I'm actually low-key freaking out and screaming in my head because I guess I could live alone. Technically, I could afford, but I don't want to do that. And also, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I mean, I could do it. It's just a lot of money. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And my other problem, I decided that our listener letter actually relates a lot to it. So maybe I'll just save that downfall of my life for later on in the episode, since it just seems like, I don't know. It's a lot of things. But, yeah, okay, moving on. Watch the debate. Yeah, I watched Kamala with her blue suit. I really wish.
And her freshly
pressed
hair.
She's my aunt's pro-fight, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I just want her to text her the group message and say, we should get Miss Kamala a stylist from Ann Taylor, because I love her. But I don't like her suits. They're so boring.
Suits are cute.
Girl, I didn't even look.
Well, they're boring, but they're cute. I mean, I don't see her doing too much color for real. But she has power suits
But if
So
she did too much
I mean, I
color,
feel like
they'll be like Obama when he had that tan suit and
He
drag her
was
down
yeah,
fine,
for
maybe
but
wait till she's
professionalism.
like in
Yeah.
office, and then
well,
she
she
can
should
get a little
have asked
bold.
Michelle Stylist. I don't know. You guys know I want to be. Eventually I'm gonna go in public life. When everyone deletes.
But Michelle got attacked at least on a
Yeah, she
daily.
did.
So maybe
So
she's like, let
again,
me
I'm gonna
wait
tell my
till I'm
aunt
in
to
my
text her group
position.
message and let her know, because I really root for her. I like the I'm speaking thing I do to people all the time at work. When people interrupt me at work who are not of my same race, I say, "Oh, I didn't finish my thought there," and they usually allow me to keep speaking because I did not finish my thought. So I will finish my thought.
Gotta let them know. Gotta let them know. No, I mean, I thought the debate was very interesting. It was a lot calmer than the first one, which was very nice to see. But I felt like she held her composure very well. She didn't escalate her voice too much, or she didn't get too aggressive in her demeanor. So I felt like it held her validity, which I feel like is something we constantly have to do, like as Black women. But I felt like she really held her own. I mean, she's not my favorite person in the world, but like I liked the way she handled herself in the debate. So
I feel like they both kind of didn't answer the questions. She answered more of the
I
question than he
agree.
did.
They
But
got
But
Kins,
like,
you know what they
because Kins
did.
didn't answer not one thing in the
They
world.
got training for 20-year-old men who don't know how to ask direct questions. That's what
yeah,
they.
like
Right. Because they asked, look, she didn't answer too many, but they asked Pence what's going on with the climate change. And then he would say, well, where did Kamala get her hair done? I mean, there was just any type of effort to answer a
yeah.
freaking question, you know? But I agree. Neither one of them did that great of a job
Like
answering
Kamala, I feel like
the
she was
questions.
like she had to have an antidote for every single answer, and then like the answer would be the last 2 seconds when she was getting cut off. So it's just like we need to know the
Right.
how,
That's what I'm gonna
the
start doing with
why, and
people.
the details.
Simone,
I
you okay
completely
out
agree.
there? We hear some commotion. You in the road?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I cannot
Are you in the
win,
middle of this
man.
road? I just want to make sure you're okay and all. We don't want you to get run over.
Thank you. I'm not in the middle. Thank you. I'm not in the middle of the road. I'm in the backyard. My dad's friend has a townhouse out here. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I think that she handled herself pretty well, and I think that leads us into our next, well, I guess our discussion for the day. So you guys stay tuned, and we'll get more into the nitty gritty of our current political climate. So, as most people know, we are currently in a really crazy environment, socially, politically, economically, damn near in every way. And right now, I think, though, that there's a lot more pressure in terms of politically, right? Um, if you have a social media, you see people constantly encouraging people to vote, kind of borderline harassment, especially since some of us have been registered to vote since we were 18 years old. Um, but I think there's a lot of pressure specifically geared towards Black people, which is exhausting, and specifically young people at that, because I think that there's like some type of expectation that we are going to fix the problems with our institution. And I think I bring this up because it's so hard for us right now. Like, I think a lot of our generation is a lot more liberal, and we see this world going in a completely different place, and we feel like us voting isn't really going to make those changes we want. But at the same time, it's like we want some type of normalcy, so we still need to vote to get some type of stability going on. Um, so I guess that leads me to say, do you guys feel any type of pressure, specifically from your parents or like close friends, to vote or to be vocal about
Pressure. I
voting?
think social media is like people repost all different things about voting every day. I feel like on my Instagram, and I don't really know if they even know what they're talking about, but I definitely want to see a repost of a very cute graphic of vote in 3 different colors.
Yeah, I mean, I see it a lot, like social media, especially Instagram. I feel like Instagram is all over Instagram.
Right.
But like in my day to day, like, we have certain, like, I have conversations about like politics all the time with my parents, but that's just like when we're with each other, which is not that much. So, I mean, otherwise, like my grandmother, well, not my grandmother, but my great aunt, she said something to me about it, like, oh, are you registered? And I was like, yeah, I've been registered. And she was like, yeah, I figured, but I got to make sure your other like cousins are. And I was just, well, you probably do. But like, I mean, it's a conversation that we have every year. So that's why I'm just like, I mean, we've been doing what we supposed to do. So are y'all looking at me?
Well, I think it's like what you're saying, Jordan, is like the normal part that we're used to. But when I say like pressure, I mean like celebrities or just random people, like something will happen in the world and then people will have a caption like, that's why we need to
Oh
vote.
yeah.
Like, okay, can we give it a break now? Like, yes, we need to vote. But for one, like, the people who y'all are encouraging to vote that y'all are trying to reach on your timelines are not the ones who
Exactly.
put us in this position in the first place. So that's one. And then two, like, okay, voting just does not fix the problems that we have because they're
Mm-hmm.
institutionalized problems, right? Like, you know, I totally have this mindset where like I feel like you can be critical, but you can't be that critical when you're not doing anything to try and make the change. But at the same time, I also understand the point that young people feel like, is there anything I can do with our current system to make these proper changes that we, you know, desire? So it's frustrating. It's like, I think us three, yeah, I think we were brought up in homes where voting was normal. We've been registered to vote since we were 18. But I think as young people, a lot of us are really
Yeah.
fed up
Yeah,
with the entire system
because
as a
like
whole,
voting
you
for
know?
specific people isn't going to help like specific
Mm-hmm.
problems necessarily. Because like you know how climate change is a big thing,
Right.
and like the younger generation has been very vocal about like you know we need to stop doing certain things such as fracking. And then on the debate, like Kamala was like, "No, we
Mm-hmm.
are not going to stop
She
fracking."
was
And then so
very
it's just like,
clear.
okay, well this is very important for me, and like both sides are saying they're going to continue to do these things. So now what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you talked about parents' pressure. I forgot. My
Right.
mom, she'll listen to this episode eventually. Lisa, what she in her spare time has been going through our family members, looking because she is like a volunteer voter. She volunteered with her sorority to like register people to vote, right? Like months ago.
mm-hmm.
But y'all know my mom. She a little like me, a little crazy. She has been on her spare time going through the voter registration catalogs and calling my family members and my cousins to tell them
Oh
that they are
no.
slapped and that they don't vote. And I said,
That's a
Mom,
lot of
let it
work.
go. And she'd be like, in the middle of the night, she's like, in the middle of the night, Lisa, I was just thinking about her cousins not registered to vote in Georgia, and it just really upsets me. I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, she's 38, you know, so like if it's a conscious decision in her part now at this point. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, just chill, Mom. Just like take it like Advil, man. Like, I don't know. Like, run around the block. Run around the separate. Like, okay. But then also, so I was home. I was home for 3 weeks actually. Just got back today. I live in Virginia. I need to register to vote in Virginia. So she has been asked me to register to vote in Georgia. And I've explained to her multiple times that is illegal. And like it is illegal. People do it all the time, but like I was not about to get caught up. Right. And I'm not about to get caught up because I was like,
You could go
I'm
to
a
jail
black
for voter
girl. They're
fraud.
gonna find me. And I just, you know what? I pay tax in Virginia. I'm a resident Virginia, like through and through. Like, let me just register Virginia. And she kept on asking me to register in Georgia. And I'm like, I'm not going to jail for you, okay? Like, I'm registered where I pay taxes, where my income taxes come from, because I'm not about to get arrested. Because that lady got arrested in like years ago for doing voter fraud, for voting in an election which she wasn't supposed to. And like, no. So, especially the black person. So that's my mom. But so she.
Well, shoot, don't tell them to look for
Yeah, I
my
saw your
stuff,
tweet, Jordan. I said, "Oh, Jordan going to jail. It's been nice knowing her."
What did I say? Oh my goodness, I'm always telling myself.
I said, "It's been nice knowing her." Jordan said, "I'm voting in Georgia because
Yeah,
my
what
vote
did she
matters
say?
more." And I saw it, and I said, I said, "It is what it is at this
Did I
point."
say
I
that?
said, "It is what
Oh
it is." I
wow.
said,
There's a woman who went to jail for accidentally putting the wrong ad, or no, it was like she went to jail and like didn't do something right,
yeah,
and then she came out and tried to vote and they sent her to jail. Like, I mean, I think the problems that we have with voting in terms of all these like little checks and balances really show the problem as a whole. It's the freaking
Voter
institution. It
suppression.
shouldn't be this hard to vote. It shouldn't be this hard to send in mail-in ballots, and they're talking about they'll throw your ballot
Yeah.
out if your signature signed
right,
wrong. Like, too much. It's too much pressure. Like, and we shouldn't have to be risking our lives in the middle of the pandemic to go in to vote in person because we're so fearful that our vote's not going to get
yeah.
counted in the
But to clear
mail.
things
This
up,
is some
in case
You're going to
foolishness.
anybody
jail.
federally is listening, my driver's license is in Georgia.
Jordan.
So and then I move every year.
Jordan,
So it's like
Jordan,
I move
Jordan. I
every
know,
year. I
but
do
where
still have a
do your
permanent
income
address.
taxes when you go to
A permanent address
Jordan?
in
But you had a job, right?
Georgia.
When you worked, and your place. Wait, I'm sorry. I'll back it up. Your place of residency is Maryland. You pay utilities in Maryland.
Yeah, but that's not like taxes.
Okay, we're not even gonna get into this, but Jordan, I think you will do well in jail because you can give everyone readings. You know what I mean? You could find some
What?
rocks. You can find some rocks on the little
Actually,
prison
and they'll
yard,
also really
and they won't know
appreciate
any
your
better.
holistic
And you can just
treatment.
say,
Oh my
"Hi,
goodness.
this is your rock. This is your reading." I think you make a lot of friends, and I can come visit you once a week because you have no one else to talk to. I can talk to you all about my problems because you have nowhere else to go.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to go to jail. We're going to stop this. We are not manifesting that.
Oh, here we go with the rocks.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
Voting. Oh, pressure.
Yes. And then also, people always be like, okay, they always yell at the Black people that we need to vote and stuff, but then they don't talk about disenfranchisement and voter suppression. So it's just like, well, how are you helping us to get there? How are you helping us to figure out where we can even register to vote at?
Yeah.
Because I remember like it was junior year, no, not junior year, sophomore year, when we voted for the 2016 presidential election. So then I sent my absentee ballot, and I didn't get it until like the day before the ballot was due. So obviously it's not going to be there on time. So I'm like, okay, let me go figure something else out. So luckily, Howard, they had like, oh yeah, you can have like your same day registration in DC. And it's like right next door to where I lived at. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go after class. I stood in line for 6 hours to vote. 6 hours.
Wild.
And I had to pee the entire time, but I was like, nobody's going to take this vote for me.
Yeah.
And you know what? 2 hours later, Hillary lost. So I can see why people are upset, because it's just like,
wait.
I'm
You went on election day.
My ass off.
You went on election day.
Yeah, because election day is when you vote.
I voted early for the presidential election.
I think there's some type of misconception that young people just like don't want to vote, and I just think that's truly unfair. I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of young people who are fed up with the system, but I talk to my friends and they all plan to vote. They understand that, we are kind of in dire straits now, no matter how strongly they feel about the presidential candidates. And I just think the blame is being put on the wrong people. Like, hate to say it, but there's an entire demographic of people who voted these monsters into office, and they don't typically care about they don't care about being women. Okay, they personally are willing to sacrifice their rights as women to pledge allegiance to their superior man. Okay, I ain't gonna say no specifics here, but y'all put the blame on us. Y'all need to really put the blame on them people, because that's who got these people elected. And like, young people are voting. Jordan's talking about how she's waiting in line. Oh my gosh. She's talking about how she's waiting in line for like 6 hours. So, that's a huge misconception. And it's just unfair that
I
putting
will
this
say,
story out,
and
this narrative out there that's not
true. I don't think young people vote enough. And like, I'll even put myself out there to be completely like transparent. Like, I feel like it was much easier to vote in college. Like, during talking about Howard, same thing at UNC. Like, it was same day registration, right? I feel like I was more equipped to know how to register to vote because it was just like in my face. It was very accessible. It was at the dining hall. It was at blah blah blah. Like, me trying to figure out how to vote here in Virginia was a mess. Like, I sent in like I did like snail mail, right? Which we're young. I don't send stuff to people, so I had to like fill out an application, send it. I was in Georgia, send it to Virginia, and then hope by the time I got back to Virginia that I have a voter registration card, because I don't have a Virginia license, right? Which is a whole other thing legally we can talk about later. It's not really legal, but don't worry about me. Worry about Jordan.
Okay, whatever. So, you're going to jail.
So like that was it was complicated. Like, I understand. I was really like confused. I felt really frustrated. Like, I was like, it should be easier than this. And I felt like, in college, I felt more equipped to know things because I think I was in an educational environment, and because everyone thought they were smart, so they always had to talk about what they knew about politics. But to be completely honest, I truly do not think people around me and people in their 20s really have any idea what they are voting on. I feel like if you were to ask people, I feel like they have an inkling, right? But I feel like if we were to ask people who repost these voting things like on Instagram and be like, hey, like, what platform do you like of the Biden Kamala campaign, right? Or what do you like of like, what do you dislike of the Republican campaign, like, on the ticket, or what you don't like? People would not know what to say. Like, and a really good example is that I had a friend this is hilarious to me. She was like, I'm Democratic, and she's like, I'm Democratic because I want this, that, and the third. And everything she named was like key Republican principles. We were like 18. I was like, that's not what Democratic Party stands for. You know what I mean? She's like, I feel the wealthy shouldn't be taxed and this and that. And I was like, that's not, like, you don't even know, right? But you were told, we're young, we kind of go with the flow. And I feel like something we don't talk about enough. Like, we don't talk about the fact that people real life don't know, because I feel like if you would tell people, like, I actually don't know what I'm voting on, you would be shamed. Like, no one's gonna say, actually, I have no idea. I'm sure there were plenty of people on that watching the debate.
Yeah. But I think there's still the desire to vote there, was my point. Like, I think they're acting like young people just don't want to vote. And it's not that we don't want to, but like you're saying, there's so many different hoops we have to jump through to figure out how to vote. The information is not being portrayed to us, the most efficiently, as you guys are saying in the debate. They weren't answering questions. So it's like, yes, we have to do our own research. A lot of us do, but like at the same time, some of these people flip flop, say one thing today, say one, like, it's just so hard to even follow this crap. But we still want
voting
to
just
vote.
cute.
We want
I
to
feel
be
like an
involved.
influencer
So like
thing.
that
I feel like
narrative
it's
is
like
not true.
Every rap with the low. I'm saying, but I feel like I feel like it's a point where it's
because it ain't really
like,
doing
and every
nothing,
4 years, like
which
a
was
very
the point.
It's a cute thing to do. But I would wonder how many celebrities, Cardi B, I feel like she definitely does vote,
I agree,
on their thing, right? Like, oh, go vote, but who actually go vote? And like, we could really look like in North Carolina, records are public, right?
And actually,
but that's what I wonder about it a lot. Like, are y'all really voting? Or are y'all just telling me to vote because like it's cute and that's what your little peers are doing?
And then, but going back to like doing like the research and like knowing what you're voting for, also the questions on the ballot are very, very confusing because they make it sound like, of course, like I'm supposed to vote for this. Like, I mean, like, of course, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, one of the questions I know is like, should funding for specific things go to those specific things? Like, duh, like what is, why is this verbiage like this? And it's making it to the point where you have to, or you're more likely to say yes. But then also you have to like really look at what, like, you have to go to the pages and like do your research to find out what this is really asking, because from the question it's just like duh. But then like I was talking to my mom about something about the last election, or like my local election one time, and she was like, yeah, that make it sound all good just to increase like taxes every year. Like every year is a question on there asking about a 1% tax, and you make it think like, oh, okay, it's only 1%, it's not that bad. But now we're up to like 10% taxes, and then it's making a big difference in your like income and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to actually do research. I can't just like look at the question and answer this and it be like factually like what I expect it to be.
Yeah, I feel like Twitter does a lot of help and damage. I feel like a lot of young people I get my news and my politics from Twitter, right? And who you follow can determine what you receive. And like some people like really like AOC, but could probably not tell you what AOC's like main things that she stands for. But it's because like AOC's on Twitter and she's young and like we relatable, and she like has cute, like she was like drags senators on Twitter that were like, cool, I'm gonna vote for her. I bet some people out here dumb are like, I'm gonna vote for AOC who don't even live in New York, and like that's not even their fault. They don't understand. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not making myself like argument clear, but I feel like it's very much an influencer culture and not an educational culture with voting and politics.
And then, but I guess it's because like also like you said, it's like who you're exposed to. Because if you're only exposed to certain things, like of course like that's going to make sense to you. And like the people who go viral are the people who like people really take notice too. And if they making a little bit of sense out of context, then people are gonna be like, oh, that makes sense, and not even know like
Sean King's a scammer
story.
but people think Sean King is credible.
Okay.
We don't need to talk.
And even with Dr. Umar,
don't even need to go into
homophobic, but
you could talk
people be like, oh, but he be right sometimes.
Yeah, we can talk a whole episode.
The ship has been
homophobic
activated.
as hell, but he's funny. Right. Okay. Let me say, he do be funny sometimes, but in the long run, he's not someone to really respect to that level. So where you should be holding him to like what he's saying is true. The man is homophobic. He's misogynistic. You know, he has some issues, and you know, some of these people be
Simone, but
quoting
you
that man. Y'all
retweeted
need to
him
let
one
it
day when
go.
he was
He ain't
looking
the
for
one y'all should be
voluptuous
quoting
black
because you
women.
showing
You
your ass.
retweeted
You
him,
know,
so
Not she
that
pulled
was
your
funny.
card.
but you just said people were
I said,
were saying what
didn't I
he
start
said.
off my whole
You
statement
said what he
right? Because
said
didn't I
though.
start
You
my whole
repeated.
statement off by saying he's funny? Did I say, hold on. Did I say this is the man to listen to? Or did I say I really agree with his policies? I just thought the video was funny. And I said that he is a funny guy. That's why he's always on our social media. Half the people that I see, you know, who spread his stuff, I don't think they believe his stuff, but he just be funny because some of it is like, this man is blatantly crazy. Like, something is really wrong with him for him to be out here talking about something, don't bring no Caucasian
He
wife to
angered
my
us.
event. That is a crazy thing to
Live
say.
stream.
Wait, but I
So
think it brings up a good point. I
that
think,
stuff,
maybe we can check our
be
last question, but like
funny.
voter
Okay,
shaming
funny.
in your 20s, like I would guess if a, like, let's say who's like a good 20-year-old like viral person, Normani, right? Let's say Normani went onto God's Twitter and was like, I'm not voting, right? At all. Shade room comments would be dragging her
They would
to
drag her.
death. And it's like, how do y'all feel about voter shaming and like, people? Most people who I see who are saying I'm not voting are people in their 20s, and how do we grapple with that?
I feel like I know people who say that they don't want to vote because, like I was saying before, like both sides don't cater to their issues, and even still, like people always say the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
But then, like, why does it have to be this way? Like, why do I have to compromise just to be able to get an abortion or get proper health care? Like, why do I have to make the compromise on my like politics and my standpoint? Why can't it be somebody else? Why can't we meet halfway? Why do I have to be the one that keeps like going more moderate if I'm a Democrat, or more moderate if I'm a Republican, if like it's not on that side? So I feel like I'm take that back. I don't speak for Republicans, so there we go. But that's why I know people. I mean, the people that I know that say they're not going to vote is going to not vote because they're not being catered to. And even still, like, the issues that are going to be quote unquote addressed, it's going to be in a very superficial way. Like, not really, it's not going to really change anything, and it's going to be another like 4 years of just, oh well, we did this to put a band-aid on something, but the problems are still going to exist. So they're more, but I do know people who are doing like actively having these little not mutual funds, but like protesting and organizing and doing these separate things to really educate people on different ways that we can like govern ourselves. So I know people that aren't going to vote, but they're doing other things to be civically engaged, if that makes sense.
So, okay, so I completely get what you're saying. My first thing is I respect people's right not to, but I also just feel like, what are you getting out of not voting? Like, I understand you don't want to vote for like all of your reasons, but maybe they feel like it's peace of mind. I don't know, but like especially if you're not doing what you were saying, Jordan, no one wins if you don't vote. Like, because reality right now, I think there's an increased pressure to vote because of this current situation we're in. But then on the other side, it's like, to me, I think what we all desire is an overall systematic change, which means, not trying to get too radical here, but there would have to be some type of overthrow, like for us to get the change we want. And it's going to be probably on a longer term scale to really get all of the policies in place that we want. Like, it's not going to happen instantly. And so that's like the larger picture. But I guess in the smaller, picture, it's like, well, and I guess a part of our two evils here, but in this election, who is more willing to implement things for climate change, and who is more willing not to vote a judge in who's going to bring women back 50 years? Like, I know it's like the lesser of two evils that we're always put in that position. But I also feel like with who we're voting for now, like there's clearly one candidate who is more willing to actually put some of the policies we want in place. It's not going to be all of them, but it's like slow progress. And I think in general, if we stay in this current system, it's going to be slow progress. And the only way we're really going to get the changes we want is like to completely overthrow this crap and change, really the makeup of America. But that's like a bigger picture thing, and we're not there yet, So it's like, what are we getting if we're not voting, and we're also not spreading the information about police reform? Well, not police reform, abolition. Of prisons and the police departments and stuff. Like, what are we getting out of that? Is my question.
My whole ideology is like, I'm gonna vote just to cover my bases while we're still in this certain system, but also working to educate myself on other ways of doing things, of governing and stuff like that. But then also you have to realize like Trump also took the election, like he stole the election. There was proof of it, and then they didn't.
He didn't win the popular. Clearly, won the popular vote, right?
And he did not win.
But I think a good point about like why 20-year-old people we don't feel as inclined to get into politics or to vote sometimes. Like, not we're talking what Jordan was saying, but like people who aren't just like, I'm not voting because I didn't register and I didn't know there was a deadline and blah blah blah. Is because like I feel like we feel invincible. I feel like when we were young, right? Like, first of all, we usually don't own businesses, right? We usually aren't being, we think in our minds as impacted, by like what's happening, like. And I think that's kind of weird. I feel like people feel like, I'm invincible. I'm not really swayed, even the word like I'm gonna be fine no matter what. And I think that's kind of what comes into people not voting sometimes in their 20s, because they're kind of like, us inconvenience. I'm living my best life. I'm going to brunch.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as we wrap this up, I think we all can respect people's decisions not to vote. Like, I don't think when I hear people say they're not going to vote, I don't really get all heated and stuff, especially younger people, because I just feel like, we all kind of are pushing for this more progressive world. And like, I don't know if we're all going to get that from voting. So we respect that choice, but at the same time, I think we're all advocates for voting. Like, we were raised in families who find the importance of going to your local elections, voting for the judges there, and making the change on a more, what's the word, green something level? What's that word? Wow. Okay, so like on a lower level, right? Like in that influencing the larger scale. I think we were all raised in those type of households, taught those type of things. I think we all believe in voting, but at the same time, I'm not going to harass someone to vote. They feel strongly enough to like not vote. Like, that truly is their decision. And like, when people talk about our ancestors, our ancestors fought for the right for us to vote. But, at the same time, like, you have the right, I guess, to decide that you don't want to, whether you agree with that or not. It's people's right, So, I think we're all advocates, so we are going to say vote, but at the same time, like, don't feel harassed. Like, we're all dealing with the things that are going on in our own ways. And if you feel like that's not the best choice for you, it's not the best choice, period. So, so we just wanted to do a little talk about like a lot of the pressures that seem to be intensified in the current environment,
unstable, right?
Because our president's currently unstable,
and
hyped up on drugs. It's like, you just feel like, I said unstable.
Okay, Joan.
Anyway, even though I said y'all know what I was trying to say, right? Anyway, I think there's an increased amount of pressure just because of the current, what the hell is going on? Nobody really knows. So it's like, okay, let's get back to some normalcy. But in the long term, there are some serious changes that have to take place, and we've just got to figure out if that's even going to happen in this, in the current, makeup of this country. I don't think it's possible. I think there has to be a complete change, but that's a larger scale thing. So hopefully we get there one day. But right now, try and make a difference somehow. So stay tuned.
As we are approaching month infinity of staying in the house, we've really been enjoying using the Anchor app to record our podcasts. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And let me tell you why. Number one, it's free. We don't got money for that. We are all recent grads out here. Times are rough. Also, there's free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you. So it can be heard on Apple, Spotify, many more platforms as well. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Get you some coins for Uber Eats. That's what I usually use my money to, but it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. To get started, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get your podcast on and poppin'.
Today's listener letter is from Latifa, and Latifa says, "This is embarrassing as F." I ain't trying to say too many curse words on here for me to even write in, but I've never really had a boyfriend like ever. Not because I'm ugly or weird or anything that I know of, but because no one ever showed much interest in me. I recently graduated college, shout out to class of 2020, and decided to try my hand at online dating. To my surprise, I met someone, and at first I didn't want to get my hopes up, but kind of felt like it was headed somewhere. It ended after a few weeks, not because he did anything wrong, it just kind of fizzled. I know we weren't together, but am I wrong for feeling heartbroken? Like, how do you get over a relationship you never even had? By the way, I love your show.
Elise,
Can't wait to hear
Oh,
your
I thought you were going to take it. Well,
or
I would
upload
say
it.
first, I think your feelings are valid. When someone who hasn't had a real boyfriend, quote unquote, I definitely feel your emotions that you have as you're figuring out what you want in relationships, they can be valid, and heartbreak doesn't have to have a label for it to hurt, because if you don't acknowledge that it doesn't hurt, then you're just gonna think you're crazy and get no closure and learn something. So I think so. Yeah, and I also think it's a stigma. If you try to tell someone if you're not in a relationship with that person, you said you didn't date, you guys weren't in a committed relationship, and you're I'm really upset or sad about blah 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 not us working out, he will usually kind of well, y'all didn't even date, or y'all weren't even boyfriend girlfriend, and that can hurt. So I do think your feelings are valid. A couple weeks is a short time, and I think you just have to kind of tell yourself know that it'll come back. And at least what I tell myself is kind of okay, at least I was able to experience one thing that was happy, so that I can maybe replicate that, or know that there's some good guys out there, or what is good feelings I want to feel.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, I agree with Elise. I think the first thing, whenever you're feeling hurt or anything like that, is to always recognize that your feelings are valid. Um, but I think in terms of dating, I'm always very guarded, and I have some friends who are very open when dating, which is, some people are just like that, and that's how they take on life. But at the same time, I just believe in being very guarded with your feelings, which is hard to do, and sometimes you can't control it. But I'm a firm believer in not letting people in too early, because a part of dating, especially weeks in, is just figuring out if that person's right for you. And when you're say you get to that point with a lot of different people, you can really start to feel the weight of that constant heartbreak, I guess. And not to say that it's avoidable, but I guess my advice is to just always try and be a little guarded, because sometimes people's intentions and they still change up, and sometimes you don't. But your heart is special, and yeah, you're allowed to feel heartbreak and you're allowed to be in pain, but you don't want to just allow anyone to do that to you, especially when, because it's if you are in a relationship for a couple, or you're dating someone for a couple weeks and you're already feeling that magnitude of hurt, I can't imagine what would happen, if you were to get extremely serious with someone. So like I said, it's not avoidable, but I just find it really important, especially as women, that we try to guard ourselves a little bit because, you know, these men out here are very unpredictable and they will just have us all types
Yeah,
of
I kind of
hurt
agree, but
and
at the same
jacked
time, I
up,
kind of
you know?
disagree, Simone, because I feel like I guarded myself a lot, and like I just had my first like boyfriend like this year, and it's not all that great. I mean, my experience,
Girl,
but
I really had to think
I feel
about it.
like
Who was it? And then I said,
I
oh, yeah, okay.
was in that position because I felt like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at least somebody likes me, and like they're kind of putting up with me, and that's just not the way to go.
Yeah.
But you know, like you hear these
Mm-hmm.
like these things all the time,
Right.
but you really have to experience it for yourself. Like we can say all we want to, but you really have to
Mm-hmm.
like sit there and like with your emotions
Absolutely.
realize like, why am I feeling this way, why did this make me so upset,
And
and work
sometimes you can't
from there.
control like
Like
someone you
I
start really
tried to guard
liking. Like,
myself
and it's
for
I feel like there's always this. I
Yeah.
saw something. It was like, don't be scared to like
No,
love
yeah.
hard, and like that's something that I think like we're always taught millennials or 20s, like
yeah.
be reserved, like cut people off. But like sometimes like it is beautiful to just
Mm-hmm.
love hard, right? And like it may not end out well, but like
Yeah.
at least you have like, you know what, like it was love hard. I did what I
Yeah.
could, and you had those moments. Like Jordan, you had moments, right? And like that's why, you know, it
Yeah.
you and your, you know, that
Yeah.
worked for when it did.
Yeah, you know what? Let me rephrase, right? Because I know it's unavoidable a lot of times. Like I've definitely been through it myself. I think more of like I have friends who are very, very open and like looking back when we talk about these situations, you know, I just feel like we at the same time, like as much as I encourage like if it feels right, go for it. Like we still have to be a little careful. And not to say you have to like completely hold back, but like you know, like when I talk to some of my friends who are like in college or something and like they just start dating this guy and the guy's constantly coming over, like you're letting a lot of yourself go to this person that you are just not really sure of like what their intentions are yet. And I get it. Like you feel someone and you just like want to go for it. And you know what? If all the vibes are right, like yeah, sometimes you're just going to have to deal with like that heartache that might come later. But I also just feel like, you know, being careful is also important. Just not letting 100% of yourself go up front, because you just don't know like what the other person's intentions are, especially so early. So that's really all I
I
mean is
think with
like
Jordan's
trying to
point
be a
though,
little
oh yeah,
careful
I
in
shouldn't have
terms of like
thought,
letting yourself go to
but
someone that you
was that,
know are just meeting.
oh, I know, was
Yeah, I kind of
because like
forgot
just
mine
having
too.
someone like you, I feel that completely. Like my first situationship ever was so, that boy was crazy. Y'all know that boy was crazy, right? But I held on because I was like, at least somebody likes me. And like that's not right. But when you don't, like I did letter
Yeah.
Miller says, when you don't have like have had a boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
before and someone shows interest in you and is like able to, who's like shows consistent interest in you, even though you try to push him away or what have you, you're like, oh, this person must really like me. And
Yeah.
that, yeah, I mean, like you can call it insecurity, but it's something that like if you have an experience when I actually like pursuing you and then someone pursues you who may
Mm-hmm.
be horrible, you're still gonna be like, wow, someone actually likes me. This is the new feeling.
Yeah. And then it's just like when I was in my situation, it was things like
Mm-hmm.
I would always
Yeah.
tell people, I can't believe you did this. Da 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 da. You know, me judging from the outside. And then me in this situation, I'm cussing myself out in my head, but I'm doing the same stuff that I called stupid to my friend 2 years ago. So it's just like you really have to experience it for yourself. Like everybody's gonna go through their part, like a part of themselves where they're just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did all of this for this man,
Yeah,
and like I'm sitting up here hurt, but you learn from it. Like
right.
it's really learned experience. Like I thought I had all like the little knowledges, and I was like, my first relationship is gonna be bomb, da 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 da.
No, that's, but
No,
it's relatable. I think
so
listeners, I feel like there's no real advice, but I just know that it's relatable. And like, I completely, like, mine was in 3 weeks, so, but like, you know, like, it's relatable. But my other dilemma is that, so yeah, I have issue letting go of people, but I want to ask this boy I used to talk to go to the smash room with me. Jordan, you send it to me. The destroy room, like where you destroy things. But I just want to
yeah,
go as like friends. but we haven't spoken in like how many months? 2. No, I just
So are
want
you
him to
looking
come
for
with me to the
closure?
Smash Room. I feel like he'd be like a good personality to go with. Like I feel like I would have fun with him.
You can't
And
just like
he can't
print out
smash
his
a picture
picture.
can't smash stuff, Jordan. So
Oh, so you want him
no,
to
I don't
be
want to
there to
smash
smash
him.
things
No, I
with you?
don't
I
want
thought
to
you
smash.
like low-key
I
wanted
just
to hit him.
want
I don't know.
I no.
I did.
I just like I don't let go of people well. I like people in my life still. Like he's not really in my life right now. It was a very awkward, like cut off situationship. But like, I don't hate him, what have you. We don't speak. But I really want to text him and my weird self and be like, hey, what you doing this weekend? Want to come with me to smash him and break things? And thoughts. You
Yeah,
think he would
I'm gonna go
decline?
with no.
No.
I think he.
I just think.
No,
Do
I
you
want us to
really want a
smash.
friendship with him?
No, because I was listening to something, and it was like if you. I was listening to Horrible Decisions. It's a really good podcast. I was listening to them, and they were like, I don't advise. And I was like, I'm not thinking I'm trying to be buddy with you, because I feel like for friendship, I have to be like actually like excited for you to have another. Like I'd be like, oh, you got another girlfriend? That's so good. Like you got you're in a relationship. Like that's great. Even though we were not exclusive at all, I would not be happy for him. So we cannot be friends. No, because I would be a bad friend. But I'm gonna smash him with him because I feel like it will be more fun to smash with him. Like I feel like he'll be a fun personality. Like
And
I'm
that's
not trying to be his bestie.
absolutely even
No,
more of the
because I
reason
want to
to
talk
say
about
no.
who you hanging out with and going on dates. But I want to smash stuff with you.
So
I just invited you
maybe
to go
I
get
can go
pumpkins
to
and
the
you said
smash room
no.
with you. I mean,
No.
in 2 weeks when I have money, but I said when I have money
So,
in 2 weeks.
But I like him for smashing. Jordan, I like you for other things. He can't come smash up with me. Like he's probably stronger than you.
Yeah, so no to him.
Jordan's not as strong as him probably.
What difference does he make that
Oh,
someone else
Also
can't
because
make
I'm
I
probably
smashing
low
not.
things?
key
Still,
I miss him as a friend. I don't really miss him romantically, right? Going through therapy, I learned I don't really miss him romantically. But
Listen,
I see funny things and I want to text him the funny things that it's like inside jokes, but I don't because I'm like, nah, this is not gonna help me. So I don't do it, I'm like, I don't do it. I'm like that's just not
that's the
gonna.
worst part.
What do I gain, right? Like a 1-2 weird awkward text, like no. Before I'm like, why am I doing this? But I won't.
But I feel like if you're opening that up again, like, oh yeah, we can just go to the smash room. Then what if y'all end up start talking again, and then like feelings get hurt again, and you're just like, how did I get here?
Yeah,
And
but
it's just because you
I like
wanted to go
breaking
to a
things.
smash room.
It's
Okay, you
illegal.
can break things by yourself.
So if I
yeah,
text
and then when
him,
you see
hey,
him,
Yeah,
you're
no.
just gonna feel
I
things.
was thinking that we
No.
could platonically
Um,
meet up at this smash room that Jordan sent me the links, how I know about it. And I think that we can really enjoy it. I said just as friends. I think But I think he
I
knows
didn't
I'm
know I was sending
crazy.
it
So
for
I
that
feel like he'd
purpose,
probably
but
be
okay.
like, Elise, I think not. And I'd be like, you're probably right. Have a great life. This never happened. And I would just cringe about it and then drink tequila shots for like a weekend straight. No water.
Yeah, I mean, oh,
I have to
no
forget that
water.
I did
Just
it.
maybe every 2 shots, I guess.
So it's a yes?
Yeah.
So I should do
I
it?
mean, it's a learning process. I'm not saying you should do it, but I feel like you're so convinced
No, I'm
that you're
not
going to
gonna
do it
do it
anyways.
because I can't. I think I've
no.
reached my
Because we keep
cringeworthy
saying
moments in my
no.
life. So I think
Yeah,
I need
because
to
I'm totally
learn to be
not for it,
better.
but
I
I'm
have
sure that
therapy
doesn't
on
really matter.
Tuesday, so I'm sure Ashley will tell me this is a bad idea.
I mean,
Okay.
if you still do it, I'm going to
Okay.
be there for you.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. Well, okay. I hope Ashley gives you some good advice, which you can go off of. But I think in general, Latifa, like, I think we're all young and we want to be loved and we want to feel love, and it's so hard because you never know if you're choosing the right person. And I think in general, it's like when you're young, it's like, let me just go with this. It feels right. But like, I guess in my mind, don't let yourself completely go for a person that in the long run you would be disappointed in the love that you guys had. Like, I feel like looking back when you've truly experienced love, you wouldn't, and like things go wrong, you can say, okay, that was a really good time though. Like, we really enjoyed each other. I learned this, I learned that. But like, I guess don't just do it for anyone, like just any guy that's willing to show you like, any type of love. Like, that's what I mean by guard your heart. And I don't know. We're all learning in
Nope,
this, and
not at
we're
all.
all making our mess ups, and we're gonna experience heartbreak. Like, I feel like you're supposed to experience like 7 heartbreaks or something, like somebody said somewhere. I've seen that before. Like, you're supposed
Yep.
to experience a few. But they're all learning lessons. And so, it's normal, and don't beat yourself up for being upset about someone that you were not serious with, or like what other people would consider serious with, because those feelings are real and you can develop feelings no matter how long the time is. So we're all just going to keep learning and gaining new experiences with different people, and eventually we'll find the person we're supposed to be with. But I just say play smart, and you know guard your heart a little bit if you can. But that is going to be it for this episode. We will catch you guys next week. We're winding down, like we said. So you guys stay tuned for our last few. Also, gotta apologize for any technical difficulties, y'all. This was an unorthodox type of recording. I am in the middle of a Brooklyn backyard, so y'all probably heard the city sometimes. But we are making it work to create that content for you guys. So you guys keep following and listening, and we'll be at our season end soon.
And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for your continued support. Follow us on our social media at Kinda Adulting Pod, and you can anonymously send in your listener letters at tinyurl.com/KA letters. See you next Monday at 12.